Hello, good evening, and welcome to what I think is now the third, is it,
I think so, yeah.
transatlantic Sunday night breakdown on a Monday. We'll blame it on time zones.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Sunday night somewhere, even though it's not. Dave, how is Philadelphia treating you, first of all?
I'm quite enjoying it actually. It's it's a weird kind of place. It's kind of a bit blue collar.
Mm,
Um, Obviously couldn't work out how to get an Uber, so I ended up walking about 3 miles to the arena, watched them get hammered by Brooklyn.
mm,
Um, Went down to one of the subway stations, turned around straight away, walked out again. Didn't like the look of
no.
that. But no, it's good. It's
They
nice.
didn't line you up for centre. They're a bit thin on the ground at the minute, lacking a centre.
No, they are very thin on the ground, but no, they didn't. But I got myself, well, I was centre of the private box, so I was
Well,
happy
did
with
you? The
that.
box did look mightily impressive, Dave.
Yeah, well, this is apparently, all the tickets were, they didn't have a ticket they could give us, so they had to
Mm.
put us in one of the boxes with the fresh prawns, which apparently here are known as shrimp. I got told off
There
for,
we go. Yeah.
and and the Philly cheesesteaks, and that it was a
Now
battle.
you see
It's a
the other
trauma.
week there was somebody who was concerned in the comments, and I forgot to ask as to whether you'd got your dessert. That was obviously
Have
at
you?
Virtue Motors, but here I'm guessing you got something more lavish.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some feedback to go back to Newcastle with. I think it's probably fair. I don't imagine he's got anybody paying the amount for a corporate ticket at the arena that whoever
No.
pays for that box pays.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was yeah, it's cool. It's nice. It's nice. Just it's expanding horizons is always good. Seeing
Yeah,
other things,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you see things. I mean, I still can't get away from the mascot dodgeball game at halftime.
yeah.
Still got
Okay,
me. You got five mascots against five kind of local 13-year-olds, and they're playing dodgeball on the court.
nice.
But just the innovation that they have here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I just like that you've now elevated from prawn sandwiches to shrimp sandwiches,
yeah,
Dave.
shrimp sandwiches, yeah, bubble gum, all of that stuff. Oh man, I mean, the pretzels are enormous. It's
They
like,
are enormous. You do get a big pretzel. Shall we talk some basketball? Some proper
oh yeah, we
basketball. None
must.
of this NBA nonsense.
But actually,
Um,
no. Before you get well, before we let's
yeah,
cut off the NBA nonsense for a second. I got a tub to thump
go
briefly
on.
because we had one of our kids playing the NBA this week, and I've been watching them.
Well, you did indeed, yes.
And I say our kids, I say that with a slight paternalism because he's from North Shields. Um, and he's got a 10-day contract, and Memphis have no players at all. But they signed him. He's played 12 rebounds in the Garden last night. He played New York on Tuesday night, Boston last night. And it's just I think I'm right in saying he's the first NBA player from this country to actually go through the pathway in this country without going over to high school first in America.
It sounds like a plausible, it
Yeah, I
sounds like
think
a
I think if you
probable,
look
yeah.
at yeah, you look at John Amici. I think he went over to high school. They go to prep school first,
Mm,
generally,
mm,
even and to do it, through basically what we have up here is it's just it's a source of immeasurable pride.
mm,
It shows that it can be done. Now, there's lots of things about it, and as I say, the reality is that if we didn't have the program we had up here, he wouldn't have started ever playing.
mm.
Program we have up here is not responsible for him getting to where he got to.
No,
That's
no, no,
not
no.
him.
Mm,
But but without the visibility and the ability to get kids in the gym first, the whole thing fails. And this
mm,
is where everything has to be better in this country. The talent, the coach, the youth coaching is there, the talent is there, but the structure to get kids playing and not to lose them to other sports, because
mm,
Tosan was a sportsman at various different sports. He could have played various different sports. If he'd lived in one of the towns around this country whereby there isn't a basketball program, he wouldn't be playing basketball.
mm.
He wouldn't be in the NBA. And that's the reach that the governing bodies in this country have to establish better,
Mm.
and they don't do a good job of it. Let's be blunt. This summer, that very program that was put in a bespoke program that was put in place because he's a kid who went to the primary school in Newcastle, private school, Royal Grammar School in Newcastle. And the Eagles had done a special agreement with Basketball England, basically to say that they could bring in kids from different schools to play in the EABL, because the EABL is a, for those who don't know, it's a academic league, so it's based around colleges. So you have Barking Abbey, Myerscough, whatever. And the difficulty is that there are like 3 or 4 different colleges in our area, and Tosan wasn't going to go to any of them. He was going to stay at the Royal Grammar School, where he's got an education which just took him to Princeton and a degree in economics.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way in the world that his dad's moving him out of that school to go to Newcastle College, because they're linked to the Eagles. So what the Eagles did was to, basically agree with Basketball England a bespoke program which allowed them to enter the EABL, so he could be spotted when he was spotted at Loughborough when they were getting hammered by Charnwood. And the Princeton assistant coach came over and saw him and for that game. And this summer, the Basketball England just basically wiped that out and said, no, we did agree that in the past, but we don't agree that now. And by the way, we're going to get rid of all your scores because we think you're breaking the rules, which they hadn't, because they had an agreement that they could do it the right way. I'm going to take all the stats away from all the players who played, because you've got different people from different academic institutions attending. And it was rubbish. It was utter rubbish. And I know this, I know they haven't got a right of reply here, because this is what it is. But I was involved in some of the correspondence which went back and forward. And then further to that, and eventually they allowed the stats to continue. And the games didn't matter because Newcastle hadn't won enough games, so it didn't really matter. But then, and this isn't just Newcastle. They did a recalculation of the whole AABL situation. Reduced the amount of schools, reduced the amount of programs available, took a program away from Canterbury and Kent. Done fantastic work with young players. Took the program away from Newcastle. So basically the northeast and the southeast. Just we're not going to put you on the talented athlete scheme anymore. And basically they did that at the same time as Tosan Evbuomwan is getting a job in the G League and playing in the NBA Summer League. A kid who, by his very pathway, would not have been here if the position that they took this summer had been there 5 years ago. And it's just not good enough. There has to be an ability to widen, not constrict. And I say this from a slightly biased perspective in Newcastle, because, and obviously with a great point to make, simply because of what Tosan's accomplished, totally free of what we did with him. But it shouldn't have happened in Canterbury. We shouldn't be in a situation where the only elite basketball colleges in this country are kind of south of the Pennines, or I think Myerscough is the closest one.
I suppose as nobody is here to push back, and I have relatively limited knowledge, although a slightly vested interest at this current moment in time. I suppose that there is an argument that I've seen being made, and I don't know how true it is, that actually you end up with disparity if you get too wide a pool, and actually we should be getting the very best against the very best.
It's a proper argument. But then the question is, well, hang on a minute, are we doing this for talent development? Or are we doing this for other things? Because if you remove the pathway that the one player who's come out of this country in the last 15 years, who's get to the NBA, I mean, through that pathway, you remove that opportunity, you're actually restricting. And so, whilst I understand the sentiment, and I don't necessarily push back against it, it doesn't become elite if it's too wide by definition. What I don't understand is the lack of geographical understanding of the situation. It's just nuts. It's wrong that a kid from Newcastle should be told you got to give up your education to move to a far academically lower academic standard college, continue the opportunity to be seen by someone from Princeton. And I know there's the argument, oh well, they'll be seen anyway, it doesn't matter if you're good enough to be seen. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that. You have to be
I spoke to Rowe about it, and the fact that he lived in the far reaches of Plymouth was a challenge for him to get to college.
And so to me, there needs to be a better understanding of good practice, and there needs to be a far more flexible way forwards. And this, and I'll be fair, this is not something I haven't said to various high up people at Basketball England in a 4-hour meeting. Okay, so I'm not broadside or blindsiding people here. These were representations that have been made, and they were made before these decisions were made, and they were frankly ignored. Are still and never for any that I could see there was never any proper reasoning given. You've given the best argument I've heard, right, in response to that. So yeah, so that's kind of a little mini kind of biased kind of Geordie rant. Not to take away from everything that Tosan's accomplished, and hopefully he'll go on to accomplish more, and hopefully we'll see him in Eurobasket in the summer in the qualifiers. But it's an incredible accomplishment.
It is, yeah. It is.
An incredible accomplishment. I miss Jeremy. Obviously, Jeremy Sohan came through Milton Keynes, but then he went to again to prep school. So and I'm not, and this isn't, as I say, a kind of an attempt to exaggerate or emphasize the achievements of Newcastle. This is a wider point. Because he could have come out of Canterbury, he could have come out of Charnwood. There are some guys who are doing fantastic things in college at the moment who might get there. Osabo, who's playing fantastically in Utah, I think, and coming out of my school, and other guys who come out of Charnwood, and Hosanna Kitenge is having a great season as he's getting older as well. So it's not just about, but the question is, if you're going to maximize the opportunity to promote players from every corner of this country, and you don't know where they're going to come from. This kid comes from a quite well-to-do family in North Shields. Then you have to ensure that you widen the net as far as you can. And at this point in time, we are not doing that. And the reality is that if there's a 14-year-old Tosan in North Shields at the moment, he is not going to get the opportunity that the one that is there now had. That's not right.
No, it's not.
Sorry. So that's the NBA bit done.
Yeah. Should we touch on Europe before we go to the British Basketball League? London beating Cedevita Olympia 92-85 in Ljubljana, and Newcastle winning in Estonia 92-84 against Kilia. Cool bet.
Yeah, Kilia, cool bet. I'm assuming that's kind of like that's a Newcastle Bet365.
I'm assuming so as well.
Other betting companies can take their place. Newcastle, William Hill, here, whatever. Yeah, I mean, well, I watched the Newcastle game, not the London game. They were on at the same time, and simply because actually there's probably, I know there's a lot on London getting into second, but there's actually more on Newcastle in relation to qualifying, and obviously Newcastle are my team. So
and Cedevita have the worst record in the competition, or second worst, but worst. They haven't won a home game all year, so
yeah. Well, there we go. I mean, the only thing was quite interesting with London was obviously Bozic getting thrown out. That's the only, the comment that you make. I mean, the one thing about London is that, coming off what they came off on Sunday, I think it was bound to pull them together. I think it had to. Because the only one, because they're too good and they're too proud, a bunch of individual players, whatever is going on in the background. And I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate any further. They're too good not to kind of push back. You tend to find is when you have something like what happened on the Sunday to them, and that was they just capitulation. That's the best word I can put on Sunday. That was a capitulation. They can lose. Anybody can lose a game. You don't lose it. They don't lose by 15 points. You haven't lost by 15 points with a full healthy team all year. It's not going to happen. You don't lose in the final. So after that capitulation, I think they were bound to kind of come together. The issue is, how much that emotion of that gets them through the next 2 months as opposed to the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks is easy.
Yeah.
In your mind, the question, but anything that's gone on, anything that's not right in the background will still be there. And it's like when you see one of those movies with a crack in a dam. The crack, you can close the crack, but the crack's always there. How many times do you hammer it before the crack resurfaces and the whole thing comes down? obviously London will hope it doesn't, and that's been the same for basketball teams in the BBL through the years. Not
It's
making
not just this league; it's everywhere,
no,
really.
every league, exactly. And I'm not taking, and I don't say it to take pleasure in it at all. I'm just saying that's the reality of it. But the Bozic thing was interesting because that was a nonsense. It was a nonsense ejection. He basically just lost it and just got through, and just basically ran at a ref. In a not in a kind of a critical moment or not in a critical play. So again, you throw that together with with Jordan Taylor, on Saturday and then Sunday's performance, and then the kind of the mental kind of degradation of him in that. It's all just a little bit weird, but fortunately, Coach Lockhart, or at least it was apparently Coach Lockhart, according to the caption that came up at the screen at the end when Coach Youngblood was being interviewed. They managed to kind of survive it and get through, and I think that probably helps them. I mean, there's lots of reasons a coach gets thrown out. One, he's having a temper tantrum. Two, the stuff he's using it as a way of exploring his frustrations and kind of getting them out. Three, he's doing it because he wants his team to know that that he's either fighting for them or whatever. The psychological thing to it as well. I wouldn't speculate any of them. Could be any of them.
Could be any of them. You've seen them all. You've seen them all work as well, and
well,
not
working
work,
or fail. And that's right. I mean, you've got to do what you've got to do. And when we started this podcast, the one thing I kind of did try and say was I wouldn't ever try and judge someone if you weren't in their dressing room, if you weren't in the locker room. And these are good coaches. The British basketball league has good coaches in there. The reality of coaching is you can't win every game. Because then a good coach loses as well because there's nobody on the poker table in the British basketball league at the moment looking at being the mug. So yeah, he did what he had to do. He got thrown out there, won the game. Newcastle in Estonia, probably a more consequential game, because they actually have a chance, despite probably getting the worst of the schedule: 3 home games, 4 away games, and their away games being all in the Baltics and in etc. They now have a chance of qualifying, and that was a Darius throwback game.
Yeah.
Darius went for 24 and 7 in 29 minutes. Which is whatever's the level, it's an 8th team in the Estonian league, so whatever that level is, it's still you watch certainly the Newcastle guys in particular, and you can see that they're playing for something in the in those games that perhaps you don't quite see in the BBL games because the jeopardy isn't there. And I certainly think Darius is playing for Europe. So far as he's had 20 years, he's never had the opportunity. They've done everything that they could in this country, and never had that opportunity, and now he's getting a shot at it, and he's bringing his best. And in this game, ultimately, he won the game because he knocked down foul shots in the 4th quarter, which the rest of them really weren't doing. And playing against again reasonable players, decent size, kind of guided them through it. And McGill was kind of good as well. McGill seems to be a better road stroke European player than the kind of the humdrumness of the BBL at the moment.
So London now need to beat the Wolves at home on Wednesday night and hope that Hapoel Tel Aviv lose to Besiktas on the same evening, about an hour and a half earlier. And I forget where that game's being played now. It's not in Istanbul. It's being played Ljubljana. There we go. So they're going back to the same place then. So we'll find out on Wednesday whether they make top 2, and top 2 gets them a bye to the quarterfinals. Means they don't have to play the 8th final. They'll finish 3rd. If not, they'll play the 8th final at home. Turk Telekom are currently matched up, but there's still a lot of things that can move in the other group. And Newcastle's thing looked really complicated when I looked at it. Go onto the ENBL
Actually, not that
website.
complicated. Actually, no, there's a game on there. It was, but it's not now. There's a game on Tuesday. There's only 2 teams can qualify out of 3, basically. There's the other 2 teams that can qualify, Liège and Gora, are playing each other tomorrow on Tuesday. If Gora win, I think Newcastle qualified. If Liège win, then it's a shootout between Newcastle and Gora in the last game. Whoever wins goes. So it's really quite easy.
Well, there we go.
But I think if Newcastle happen to win that game, then they could actually get as high as second, depending on the stuff. So it's all, yeah, which would be, would be an accomplishment, I think.
Indeed. Let's move to the British Basketball League. Starting on Thursday night, Manchester Giants 79, Plymouth City Patriots 93. We'll go through the game first. No Jones, Lawton, Anderson. Pretty even first quarter, really. Not a lot between the two
Oh
teams.
man, this is wow. This is the Emperor's New Clothes game. This is when the kind of the curtain was drawn back and we saw the Wizard of Oz. I'm afraid. But yeah, the game. Okay. What about the game? Manchester are a mess. I say that again. I don't say that in a pleasurable way, or I don't take any pleasure from it. Plymouth had the semblance of a unit and then kind of knew how they were going to play. They're probably a little bit down on the talent level that they need. And Copeland didn't make the shots in this game that he made in the first game, but he shows some size, some capabilities. But Manchester, we talked before about the games they play without Jamal, and I think they survived a few, but I think it's beginning to kill them now. Absolutely beginning to kill them. Their structure, that kind of thing. Harris is still very, very bitty in relation to the minutes he's getting, and Lee appears to kind of flit in and out a little bit. He doesn't, he should be the focal point of that team, but he really isn't. He's kind of, he's it's all right in playing the way he is up when he was at Leicester and he was like the third or the fourth option, but when you're effectively the first option, you want to see a little bit more out of him. And then they've got the missing Lawton, obviously, certainly unable to be physical on the court. That hurts him too. And then you had Walsh basically again. It's a canary in the coal mine thing. It's the same with London. I mean, Walsh threw his toys at the pram in this game. He got two technicals. He could have had three. And the second one was in the middle, so he was lucky not to get the second one. And then he got another one. Then he just walked straight off. And it's like sometimes you have to be. This is one of my mates' best phrases, that you have to be professional in an unprofessional situation. Whatever is going on, whatever has got your goat, whatever is frustrated you, whatever circumstances are going on in your head, you have to basically suck it up. And he didn't do that. He his frustrations were absolutely visible.
Palpable.
Palpable.
So
and then he went on Twitter afterwards, which again, not a good idea.
I was going to say Robertson got his third foul as well in the second quarter. So without Lawton, they were really thin.
Robertson has kind of a perpetually frustrated look on his face at times. He's very expressive. And again, that can be can be difficult because you continue having to monitor and manage your emotions.
So Patriots a 9-0 run to 26-33. Lee Stampley Borsier threes to 36 all. Atwood got a third foul just before halftime and then didn't come back in until basically the last couple of minutes of the game. And Green never played in the second half.
No, Green never played either. And PG, I think Green was giving it a lot of the kind of the frustration, the kind of the arm waving and, I didn't pass me the ball. I didn't get the ball there. I think everyone's getting to that part of the season. It's February.
It's the dog days of February.
And PJ is just thinking, I'm not going to deal with this crap. I don't have to. We ain't winning, so it don't matter if I'm going to sit you down. So what? And then I'll go with the guys who are going to.
And to be fair, they went on a 15-3 run and they got in the lead. So why would you change it?
Well, yeah, that was a funny guy because he's scored a lot of points. He's a skillful player. He's listed as a guard in the All-Star thing. He's clearly a forward to my perspective. And he has this ability to score the basketball, but he also has this ability to just kind of at times just be on the court and without much presence. And they playing without him, they had a little bit more. And Wiley's playing very forcefully, kind of frees him up a little bit. And yeah, I think it was good coaching. Ultimately, you don't have to play these guys all the time. Ultimately, you just got to do what you can try and do to win.
And that was the point at which that Walsh got his second technical for complaining on a non-call, and he was ejected with 3:25 to go in the third quarter. And to be honest with you, that was basically the end of the sort of contest. Lee 40 minutes, 26 points, 17 rebounds. Lewis 17 points,
Yeah,
5
I
assists.
just called him out and said he didn't
Yeah.
do good. He did 26 and 17.
Yeah.
So it sounds ridiculous. But there is a but there, and that but is there. It's not his team. It should be his team, really, because he is the best player. But and when I say it's like who's in control of the team, who, he is doing what he's always done, but there needs to be some more either playing around him or vocal leadership from him or something. For that, without Jamel being there, because that's Jamel. That's the role Jamel took. Was Jamel? It's Jamel's been Jamel's team. Nick Lewis has had the ball, but it's been Jamel's team. Jamel will make the plays. When Jamel's not there, it has to be William Lee. I didn't see that. I don't see enough of that from him.
Stampley with 10. Wiley 20.7 rebounds, 4 assists. Faulkner 17.7 rebounds. Levi 14 and 14, 6 of 6 shooting, and Copeland also had 14. And then we had all the stuff at the end of the game, and obviously there's an investigation going on, and there's been well, I was about to say statements put out, very similar statements in different places, almost identically worded through, but it's not really it's not a good look.
It's not. I mean, let's not get too high and mighty about it, because we've been there. We've seen stuff like this happen before.
Oh yeah, seen
worse. I mean, it's as in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty substantial for 2024, but it's nothing more walk in the park if you're talking 2004, stuff that we've seen. But
or 94.
Or 94, exactly. Mike Obasiki, I think was the name. But anyway, but it's kind of bigger than that, because this is, I try not to do this very often when we're doing this, but this is kind of I told you so time. Because that Thursday night, the whole thing was a net negative for the British Basketball League. You can't sell it any other way, right? It's a Thursday night game where there's literally nobody in the gym. They might have got 200 people in the gym. The game itself was of limited quality. I'm not gonna hammer down on the players too much, but it was ill-tempered, certainly on Manchester's side. The level of basketball wasn't high, and I think that part of that was to do with the familiarity of the teams. Obviously, they played each other so many times already, and the game itself, wasn't great. The security clearly was appalling. The individual in question was at times almost on the court during the second half, getting off his feet and kind of celebrating dunks and stuff. And the whole thing, you can't tell me that you can put that whole, it doesn't matter how, to be frank, it doesn't matter how good your TV directors are. You cannot polish that turd as an event. And this is where the whole, unbeatable, well, look at all the steps we made, look at this, that, and the other. Now, there's always been games like this every season. So it's not like we get a rubbish game with two teams near the bottom and everything kind of goes wrong and no one wants to come along. It's a new thing. It's not just a problem that's been brought about by the changes that have been made. But it sticks in the throat when we're being told how good everything else is. Because that wasn't good enough. That was the type of thing that you put on the TV in America or wherever, then you're going to get more people to turn off and not watch again than you are to keep watching. And why was it like that? It was like that because, firstly, the Thursday night thing. Manchester can sell out that gym. They've done it. I had a very pleasant 3/4 of an hour talking to the commercial manager when he was in Newcastle. They can sell out that gym on a Saturday, on a Sunday. Everywhere we've seen so far, give or take one or two, the Thursday night games have failed to get people in the gym. Caledonia, a bigger example as well. So has anybody actually looked at that and thought, well, actually, this is something that we need to really review quite quickly, quite nimbly, and look and speak to the clubs and say, what is it that we can do differently to get people in the gym? Because no one wants to see 200 people in the gym. Then the whole disciplinary thing, which I've talked about at nauseam, I'm not going to talk about again, but it's a mess. I mean, we still don't know what happened to Lucas Paliza for leaving the bench. I like Lucas Paliza. I don't want anything bad to happen to him, but it's not even been mentioned. He left the bench during the altercation, and nothing's been done about it. No statement, no nothing. Even if it's a statement to say that he was given a formal warning because the referees report determined that he was going in there to act as a peacemaker or something. I don't know. Nothing happened. Just the head in the sand thing. It's far more important to get our fancy new video out than to actually deal with the nuts and bolts of a professional sport. So, and that's not directly on point on what's happened here, but it's a bugbear, as you probably gathered. So then you get what happens at the end of this game, which is someone sitting courtside who's been visibly creating a nuisance of themselves during the game, has got a rise out of Jamel Anderson, who was basically about a player in this league who's about seen it all, done it all, and I don't think ever reacted to anything that I can remember in 15 years. So he has kind of he has credibility on his side. Whatever was said, whatever happened, he has credibility on his side. And then been a bit more talking going on. Security just nowhere to be seen. And naturally, what happens is when something like that happens, players are drawn to it. When players are drawn to it, words are spoken. All it needs is one push, one stumble, and one little boy who's hitting their head. And suddenly you've got a melee. And we all love the word melee. And melee generally means two people having a visible argument and 35 people swanning around the outside of them trying to figure out what's going on. And it looks awful because of that. And a bit of a crush. And it's just without going into the rights and wrongs of it, or without prosecuting people without any evidence, it's just an awful look. And I understand why the league, and I'm glad the league put a statement out straight away. But this has been coming. This stuff is, if you don't take care of all the nuts and bolts of the stuff that is going on, if you don't have guidelines stipulating the ball isn't from for spectators, what the rules are, how what because NBA players are getting spectators thrown out left, right, and center now. In fact, there was that wonderful video, I remember, of I think it was in the Minnesota game, of the two protesters and the security guard realizing that they weren't meant to be courtside and having his eye on them. And as soon as one of them got up, and it was last year, basically the chokehold on them. Because player safety has to be paramount, and player security has to be paramount. And I'm afraid that it was just as I say, this was just an Emperor's New Clothes game. This was just when the curtain went back, and the Wizard of Oz was just a little bald-headed bloke, and it's a horrific phrase, leveling up, because we've all seen it abused. We've all seen it, how it's been manipulated and used and used by politicians. But if you're serious about the league, you start at the bottom. And that means you deal with how, what are the factors, what are the points that we have that would dictate a league of success, our league of success. If we're having showpiece games, and every game's a showpiece game now because they're not being scheduled against each other, they need to be at 80% of capacity, minimum. If you're at 10% of capacity, then that isn't a failing on the club, that's a failing on the organization around it. And then there need to be rules. There need to be rules in relation to everything that goes on in the arena, which there aren't. And ultimately, they need to get out in front of this stuff, and they haven't got out in front of it, and been bitten now because we're actually quite fortunate insofar as nothing worse happened, because that was one step away from really kicking off. The player who was kicking off, it had been one of the fans. Or it takes someone to throw a couple of punches.
Mm.
You know, there's been some unfortunate publicity about Plymouth at the minute with some players in issues with the law, which I deliberately haven't gone into on here. I'm not going to because we don't know anything about it. But you know that was just kind of a scuffle at the end of a game, in reality. But it wasn't far away from physio breaking a jaw, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's one punch, then one person falls over, then three people join in, and you're on the national news,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And you're not on the national news because you're unbeatable,
Mm.
because the cup final wasn't on the national news. You're on the national news because you failed to properly address the circumstances around one of your events. And you know, at the end of the day, Manchester's run by the league. Manchester's basically run by 777. So yeah, no, it's not good. So that's my hand wringing done. I'm afraid. I'm not, as I say, there's no lectures, there's no moral high ground.
Mm.
It's just been coming,
Mm.
you know, and maybe it might just prod people into action.
We shall see.
So
Let's yeah, let's move. There's almost nothing to add, really. That's the thing. But as you say, there is. Um, it needs it needed to be dealt with earlier than it was. I think is the
yeah.
solution. Let's move to Friday. Surrey Scorchers 82, Sheffield Sharks 75. No good one for Surrey. Robinson, Steele, Cooper all hitting threes in the first quarter. Surrey making one of those starts that we've seen them do at SSP a few times this season. They're up 15 points after 10 minutes.
Yeah, they've made Anston Sheffield making one of those starts that we've seen all season. You know, where they play slow, they struggle to score. And they're digging themselves a hole, and they've got lots of they're kind of trying to figure out units who can play. They're not really making shots. The one thing that struck me watching this game was, what is the collective noun for long 2-point jump shots? Because the best one I could come up with was a bath. Because Sheffield, whatever it was, Sheffield produced it. I mean, Sheffield
it's an anti-analytic, isn't it?
Well, they shot. I mean, at the end of the day, I think they only shot 13 threes, but even so, they shot. You know, it wasn't that they were at the rim either. They literally had a bar of 2-point tough jump shots, most of which that they missed. And you know, it was going back a long, you know, time. They're not right. You know, they've got. I mean, Malik Allen is it Malik Allen?
Malik Green.
Malik Green, sorry, of course, Green, of course, would be a Green. He appears to be a bucket getter, but he didn't start the game, so they were a little bit slow with that starting. And you know, Sheffield and Surrey just basically traded threes for 3-point jump shots for 2-point jump shots, and Surrey hitting more of them. And yeah, you know, just Sheffield. I think they've still got an American spot. I'm not sure if they're going to use it. They brought. I think they've still got one left, but you don't really know what they need, because they're struggling between kind of Ramsey and Pipkins. They're struggling a bit, and then Glasgow came off and gave them something off the bench. But yeah, tough.
It feels like the component parts are all right. It's not. It's just there's something like, because they had the issue earlier in the year where it felt like they had too many players, and how do they get them all in? And then obviously the one fella left who I've forgotten his name now. And then when Adekoya went, they kind of replaced with Green. And
I mean, and they're 11-11.
Yeah.
No, so it's not like, you know, it's not like it's a disaster. The bottom's falling out of the season, but you just don't kind of, and they can play with drive, and they can play with aggression, and they came back into this game.
Yeah.
It's becoming a kind of a ritual almost, that it's like 10, 12, 15 points in the first quarter. They play slow, they miss jump shots. And you know,
Then they
I
get
think
back into it after that.
I think Green's probably gonna have to come at the start. I think they're gonna have to really refresh it, and Green's gonna have to come at the start and line up, and they're gonna have to roll with him, whatever he is. And I think I'm not sure he's putting up plenty of shots. But that's what Alan's done for Leicester, and by and large, Leicester have integrated him okay. You know, the odd game where it ain't been quite right, but by and large, when you've got a guy that talented, you got to give him the touches.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think maybe that might end up being the way that Sheffield goes. Sorry, we've gone through the game a bit. There wasn't much
Yeah,
more to the
no,
game.
no, there was. I've literally got, it felt like it was going to be comfortable. They were 24 points up at the start of the
Yeah,
fourth quarter, but then out of nowhere, a 20-2 run, and it went from 71-47 to 73-67.
yeah. Well, Sheffield play. It's when they're behind, they
Mm,
play better because they play
mm,
faster and
mm,
they play with more desperation, and they know that they can't do that. And Surrey offensively, they're playing without Gooden, so there's a lot on Lawrence and Robinson, and we haven't really got any interior scoring either with Hunt out other than Jameson.
mm,
So it's not as easy for them to keep scoring. They don't have the stretch opportunities that they had,
mm,
and Sheffield still have guys who can guard. Now, what happened was in the fourth quarter, Atiba benched Ramsey, Pipkins, Kipper Nichols, well,
mhm,
and went with his other guys and went with Glasgow and Allen and I think Nixon. And Nixon started getting into it. He started
mm,
getting his head into it and started talking and starting getting, which is what you need when you're down 20. You want to see something like that. But it's never good when you're making that run back in the game with three of your starters not basically playing,
mm.
including your starting point guard.
In the
It's
midst of
never
that,
good. Never
yeah,
good because you've got to figure out, well, how do I start the next game?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's why it's not good. It's good that you're back. You're good. Your bench is doing it, but it gives you problems.
In the midst of that run, Dave, about 5 minutes to go to the end, there was a bit of a nothing between Robinson and Rock that escalated into some pushing and shoving and some jawing, and we got a double unsportsmanlike, Dave.
Yeah,
Now we know
yeah.
you hate the double technical. Where do you sit on the double unsportsmanlike?
I'm never quite sure what's a technical and what's unsportsmanlike in
Yeah,
those
yeah.
kind of situations. I know. I think I think Justin was getting a little bit frustrated, and
Mm,
Rock kind of put his hand on him as he was going down through the lane.
mm,
I didn't have the because I've been on a flight on Friday. I haven't had the patience. I did watch this game back, but I haven't had the patience to go back and look for the little triggers before then because there will
mm,
have been
mm,
something that's gone before then, which has got that. And then so it's kind of don't put your hand there, slap your hand off. Hey, don't
mm,
slap me, you slap me, do all that
mm.
stuff. Um, yeah. Kind of yeah, it was all a bit of nothing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
My
was a bit of
problem with the remains with I don't think the FIBA. I think in a lot of ways FIBA have the rules right in relation to comparison to the NBA. In fact, the NBA started actually taking some of the FIBA rules, including the take fouls now as well.
mm,
Um, but I don't think the FIBA rules are right in relation to the the um the impact of two unsportsmanlike fouls or an unsportsmanlike foul in the technical.
mm.
I don't like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Never have.
yeah.
I think it takes I think it over penalizes for minimal stuff, and
Mm,
it didn't have an impact in this game because no one got thrown out.
mm,
Um, but when you're getting double and technical, double unsportsmanlike in the NBA, it's two technicals and you're out. Yeah,
mm.
okay, and a flagrant one or a flagrant two and you're out. But there's a difference between a flagrant and unsportsmanlike.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There
No
is.
way that's been called a flagrant in the NBA
No, 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 no.
or double technical to
Well, I
warn that.
thought I thought it was double technical rather than
Yeah,
double
yeah.
unsportsmanlike was my take, but it
I don't
doesn't
like
really
the
matter. There's the but they
no.
just it was one of those of calm down, boys, and let's get on.
Yeah.
Sort of didn't really matter. So let's get to the end. Lawrence an open three, 76-67, 122 to go. Cook inside 76-69. Scorchers then turned the ball over.
Yeah.
Green drive fouled, makes one of two, 76-70. Um, it was kicked out of bounds, so that allowed they tried to inbound it, got kicked back out. That allowed Lloyd to time out and advance the ball because he was worried about them getting it in. Sheffield
Yeah.
only on one foul at that point in the quarter. They actually did really well, I thought, to get through all their fouls in about 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Cooper then made some free throw. I'm sort of going through it, but actually they weren't ever quite close enough, were they,
I thought it
Sheffield?
was Lawrence's three that killed it.
Yeah,
Actually, the
yeah.
first thing you mentioned there, I thought that was the killer because they hadn't, um, they hadn't been a shot for about 7 minutes, but they gave Lawrence a wide open three.
Mm,
And that was probably the one guy at that point you didn't want to have the ball because Lawrence and Robinson are going to be the go-to guys. I still don't trust Wang in the clutch. Um, and they haven't got the big guy. Jameson's not the guy you throw the ball to get a bucket. He's a guy who's going to play well, but he's not. He might get you a rebound, he might make a layup, whatever, but he's not a guy you're going to throw the ball to get a bucket. So that's where they kind of miss Hunt a lot and miss Gooden's shot creation as well. But I thought giving up that three really hurt Sheffield. The problem is when you're that far behind, you can't. Keeping the run going is tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
22 run is fine, and you're still 6 down.
Yeah. I was I think part of the reason I've got it all down is just to talk about the comedy inbound that they had after the Glasgow thing, where threw it off the bottom of the backboard. It was you have it, we have it, out of bounds, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it back, but I think it was a legit play. I don't think it was a violation. I think it hit the
No. I just he just hit the bottom of the thing.
Backboard.
Yeah, hit the bottom of it, and then it was all over the place. It was just
it's like a pinball wizard type of
thing.
They just Sheffield. I mean, Sheffield's history in recent years has been kind of, whenever they get a couple of substantial setbacks, they normally bounce back. And normally they bounce back at home. They get a couple of home wins, and then you look at them, and they're 13-11. You think, how are they 13-11? But there aren't that many teams you get comfortable wins against nowadays in this league at the moment. So I think they have to be. I think they're going to need a recalibration. Yeah, I don't think they can start that lineup again. I think that's too often. It's happened too often now. Problem with that is that you're then bringing the new, certainly in relation to Green, you're bringing him in, so he's then going to be a focal point of the team because he's the guy who's looking to score the ball or make a play every time he catches it. So does that change the way that you play? I think it has to, because it's not working at the moment.
Jameson, 19 points, 14 rebounds. Robinson, 16 points. Cooper, 13. They were 12 of 32 from three, but 6 of those 12 came in the first quarter. 19 points and 12 rebounds for Green. Nixon had 17. Glasgow, 12. So the top 3 scorers for Sheffield, all off the bench. 48 of 75 points off the bench.
Yeah, and there you go. I suppose that's putting the numbers, isn't it? But more importantly, Sheffield shot 13 threes in the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 27. They were net minus 27 on 3-point field goals, but they're not shooting them. They're not creating them. That's putting them at a Matt's disadvantage in a 40-minute game. That's a substantial. I didn't do the numbers that I did last year when it was like how many potential points did they have from their shots.
Yeah,
but I'm guarantee you that Surrey had a lot more potential points from their shots than Sheffield did from theirs.
Yeah, for certain. Let's go to Newcastle 87, London Lions 105. Spencer was back. Josh Ward-Hibbett was back as well, back from compared to domestic games. London with the first 7 points of the game, but then Austin scoring inside and out, and the Eagles got on top 18-15.
Yeah, Austin's kind of really growing into this kind of third guard role. Playing with a lot of kind of force, as it were, and obviously he missed a few weeks when they were kind of coming together. So that's kind of a positive side. And I say a third guard role. They're playing the 3 guards at the same time without Whitfield. So that's kind of helped them a little bit. The defense, Newcastle defense, ultimately London's a good offensive team, and they need a degree of physicality to defend against them. I didn't think Newcastle quite had that physicality in this game to just kind of sustain it for 4 quarters. You can't give up 105 to London and expect to win. You've got to be they've got to be a Newcastle team which is, offensively quite powerful, maybe low 90s. They've got a shot, but 105 just ain't going to get it done on your own gym. And they struggle to stay. Obviously, the guards struggle to guard without fouling as well.
Grantham threes at the end of the first quarter. Nelson and Conor Morgan at the start of the second. Lions were out to a 10-point lead, but Eagles responded with a 7-0 run. They had to navigate the foul trouble, as you touched upon there, for Jordan Johnson. Again, the Lions got up 8. Again, the Eagles pulled it back, and it was tied at halftime, 46-all.
Yeah, but they've got a lot more margin for error London than Newcastle with the lineups as they are. And whereas beating them over 20 minutes or even 30 minutes is possible, I think Newcastle beating them over 40 minutes with that line. It was tough.
Mm.
Because where they're deficient is kind of in the positions where actually Cheshire were really, really strong, which is kind of that wing athleticism.
Mm.
So the wing athleticism at Cheshire allows them both knock down shots, get out in transition, and rebound the ball.
Mm.
Whereas Newcastle are kind of without Whitfield with Water, but just coming back, and they're not. Neither of those are the most athletic players either. They struggle to kind of have that physicality, which Cheshire had, which Cheshire needed to beat them. And the reason Cheshire held them to 84 was ultimately because Cheshire rebounded the ball really well in that final.
Mm.
And even London scored 84. Newcastle didn't have that. Other than, you're asking Austin to rebound like he's 6'5", which he can do, but it's tough to do over a course of 40 minutes.
Yeah.
When you've got when you got someone like Grantham, who's 6'8". So yeah, it was a tough one, but without the only way Newcastle were going to win the game was to stay in a scoring race. The only way they were going to stay in a scoring race was to basically keep their guys on the court. And Jordan Johnson playing 19 minutes basically killed them.
Yeah, we were running an interview with Mark where he's talking about Johnson avoiding fouls as he picked up his fourth foul at the start of the fourth quarter. Lions went 9 clear. Eagles did get it back to 2 midway through the third quarter, but then Matt Morgan, Connor Morgan, Phillip for 3. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly it's a 62-76 game, and there's no way back from
Yeah,
there.
and you can't play them from. I don't think you can play them from behind without that kind of, that kind of physicality. As I say, it's a scoring race, but if you're in a scoring race, you've got to keep it close, and then that you can make the plays at the end. London are really good. They're still really good. Whatever happens to them is talent. Their talent now is off the charts. Conor Moore making kind of one right hand dribble step back threes in the corner.
Mm.
That's not something anybody in this league can guard.
Mm. Mm.
And as I say, they have that focus from the all the stuff they've been hearing after losing the final, and
Yeah.
that pulls you together, and it pulls you together for a couple of weeks. It's kind of F the world, that type of stuff. What is what you read, of course, is that focus to be there before the final.
Mm. Yeah.
But the reality is, of course, very few of those guys have ever been in a final like that. Even though the talent is all there, if you look at their team, kind of a playoff final with a game the day before in the middle of the season, that they're not common. Matt Morgan's not done that.
Mm.
Jordan Dale's not done that. Conor Morgan's may have been in the Copa del Rey, I don't know, but I think they got beat by as well as anything else that's going on. I thought they got beat by the environment last Sunday. They got beat by the inexperience of their coach. They got beat by the fact they had so many players, and I mean inexperience in relation to BBL finals. The game just kind of constituted away from them. And they'll be embarrassed by that. So they're all going to come back and give it their best shot. And then in this way, I think they're going to win the league in about 3 weeks. So good for them.
I think it is into March when I last did the maths, but yeah. So Johnson, 19 points, 5 of 6 shooting, 3 assists, but only 18 minutes and 43 seconds. Austin, 16 points, 10 rebounds. McGill, 16 points and 9 assists, 1 of 9 from 3. Grantham, 18.7 of 9 shooting, 8 rebounds. Nwaba was 8 of 9 shooting for 17 points. Phillip, 14.6 rebounds. They had 7 guys in double figures.
Yeah, that physicality from Nwaba is tough for anybody to match up with in this league. Certainly Newcastle really don't have that. Cheshire are probably the closest team to having those kind of wings who can match up with that athleticism. Newcastle really don't have that, and that's a point of difference.
Won't match his calves either, as Drew Lasker pointed out. Surrey Scorchers 84, Leicester Riders 104. Again, Surrey came out firing threes. They made a few early, but a 9-0 run had Leicester ahead. Really, the difference between this game and the Sheffield game is that Leicester stuck with them in the early stages when Surrey started making a few shots.
Yeah, well, Leicester were too good offensively. I'm actually going to call a bit of BS on the scheduling on this, mind. I'm not sure why Surrey were playing at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, having played at 8 o'clock on a Friday. And I looked at the schedule and I thought, well, hang on, why has Surrey got that game on the Saturday with Leicester when it's Leicester's only game? When London have got a game, London's game isn't until Sunday, and it's Plymouth's only game. You know,
my answer to everything is usually venue availability, and
well,
they like the 5 o'clock, I think, on a Saturday. But
well,
I
maybe
don't
they
know
do.
whether they were
Maybe
given the
they
I don't know
do.
whether they were given the choice or not, but I
Well,
know they.
I'm at the point of wondering when London's first league double header is going to turn up. And I don't think they're going to have one. And I'm at the point of having the little conspiracy wacko Trump fan in my head saying, you know, hang on a minute, who's in charge of this? Because there's no good reason why London couldn't. And I get you say about venue availability, but Surrey can get a venue on a Sunday. London can get the venue whenever they want. There's no question about it. That's why they've had no double headers, because they can get the venue whenever they want. But I think it puts Surrey at a disadvantage. Well, it puts everybody at a disadvantage when you have that. That's not to, I mean, but that said, Leicester are really good. And it was one of those games whereby everything flowed and they got their shots where they wanted them, and they weren't. They got good minutes out of Mo Walker. And then, you know, as a coach, it was kind of the game where everybody's contributing at the right time, and you felt like they weren't ever going to stop scoring. Whereas Surrey made some shots, but you know, when Andrew Lawrence decided to have his little hissy fit, the game was done basically.
London, by the way, play Euro Cup, and then Thursday against Sheffield this week. Just
Yeah, I know they do, but that's BBL. That's not
yeah,
BBL.
yeah, no, just
No, it's not BBL. It's BBL. Yeah, I get that.
um,
I know that's happened to them a couple of times already.
yeah,
I
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
And so it's just, yeah, I'm
Uh,
just salty. Sorry.
So I was slightly distracted looking to see what the
Yeah.
upcoming schedule was. I couldn't see anything after that, by the way.
No.
Washington 3 on the buzzer. Odowu two back to back threes early in the second quarter. Leicester have a spell of 22-4 to lead 29-47 with still over 5 minutes to go. Lawrence with two technicals middle of the second quarter that you just mentioned there. He wanted a foul on a block shot. It looked like a block shot to me. He wanted a foul. Never a massive fan of two T's in a row, but once the first one is called, his response from about a foot away from the referees.
He was out the gym in 5 seconds, wasn't
Yeah,
he? Given he knew.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
mean, he's you know, toys out the pram stuff. Again, not great.
Mm,
Not. But he has to be better than that.
mm,
He has to better whether he doesn't like the call or not.
yeah.
Um, and then Lloyd got one.
You like the referee to sort of cop a deafen, but it's hard to do it when you're waving at him from 1 foot away, sort of
Got the
thing. But
words.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Can't. It depends what the words were. If it's anything
yeah,
that close and it's personal,
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
personal. Or if it's an
It,
F word or something like that,
yeah.
So if you,
It looked to me like he had to go. That's
yeah,
what it looked like to
it
me.
looked to me like he knew he had to go.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
then,
then
as
Paul,
you say, a minute later, there's one on Lloyd, but both Lloyd and Teo
Dale.
instantly reacted to say, well, he's talking to me.
Mm.
And obviously, the ref is in between the two of them,
Yeah,
positionally. So,
I never like technicals, and the ref can correct us on this, but I'm never a fan of a technical where a ref goes a technical for something that he's not looking at.
mm,
So in this situation, the ref's looking at the game and Lloyd's behind him.
mm,
Now, again, I don't know what Lloyd said. I don't know what Tony said, but the words alone are the technical because the ref didn't see him,
mm,
right? And the ref therefore doesn't know to whom he's directing whatever comment he's making,
mm,
unless it's so, obviously egregiously at the ref, like
mm,
whatever.
yeah.
Then it's obvious, and the reaction of the two of them would suggest that wasn't the case. So that's kind of a thing, if I'm running past and I can't see him, when I hear something, the first thing I'm going to do is look over my shoulder and just see what was that. And then when you satisfied yourself that it was at you, boom, do that. I don't think he did that in this case. I think it was just kind of they're the words bang T, and so there's so I thought that was a little bit. Sorry, we're getting a bit defensive by then. Sorry, we're getting
Mm,
a bit twisty by then. But I think actually the story of this game was that outside the fact that Surrey obviously undermanned with Bailey and Okasemi playing more minutes and probably wanted them to. Leicester are deep and
mm.
talented,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
they really are.
I don't know if you
And
saw the post-game interview, Rob, but he said that was one of the things they talked about this week. They were going to use 10 guys and try and wear them down because of that second game sort of thing. And he did
yeah,
go
it's
to that
great.
second
Yeah, it's good. I
final.
mean, that's kind of coaching 101. Sorry, Rob. Of course you are, but you have to get good play out of those
Yeah,
10
yeah,
guys.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, it's all right saying we're going to use 10 guys, but if the first 5 don't turn up, then,
Mm,
you know, you got to use who's going to win. Um, and, you know, they're a really tough team when the ball doesn't stick.
mm,
You know, they historically have the best offense, and they have for probably the last 7 or 8 years in creating good looks. And to do that, they do that with whatever team they've got, whatever players he's got. He always finds a way of creating good looks. I mean, we couldn't, you know, when going back to the Bernardini days, we could never figure out just how they always ended up getting the spacing is very, very good. And if that's what they end up with this year, and that's been the issue with taking out half your back court and then integrating a new high density ball handler or scorer in Allen. But when Allen plays within the scheme, or when other guys are creating for him as opposed to just giving him the ball and saying go make something happen because he's good enough to do it. But you can focus in on him then, and then you know, and that's when he ends up, you know, 7 of 20, if 13, something like that. They're not going to lose many games because everybody else is going to be getting their shots as well.
mm,
And Teddy's going to get 20.
mm,
But as a team, they're going to be seriously dangerous, and you know, and probably the most equipped. And they haven't been touched by the injury bug yet. Fingers crossed for them. You know, they've been pretty healthy.
mm,
But you know, if all the teams ready to make a run, you would say it was them
mm,
at this point. I thought they were really good in this game. Just and Mackenzie's really good.
mm,
You know, just his focus, his drive. You see something in his eyes that you don't see in every player in the league, in every guard in the league. I wish we had a bit more of it in some of the Newcastle guards. You know, just
mm,
that that kind of sense of purpose, that focus of purpose at times.
mm.
Um, you know, so I like Leicester. I like what Leicester are doing at this
Uh,
point.
at half time, Leicester had 10 offensive rebounds. There were 21 rebounds available to them at that end of the floor, and they had 10 of them. So they had
Yeah.
13 second chance points. They had 13 fast break points as well, and they were 8 of 14 from three.
Well, that's kind of well, the 8 of 14's a killer because when they shoot the ball well, they're going to win. But you know, they got some nice threes. You know, at the end of the first quarter, Allen penetrated and kicked it to Connor in the corner.
Mm,
You know, for a great look. That's a big play. You know, something like that. Then you talk about the offensive rebounds. Well, that's because they're able to bring kind of a little bit more energy to it now. Walker can hold the middle, and then you've got Ado and Shelton playing, or able to come in and play energetically, and Shelton's going to play at that, and he's going to give you some of them.
mm,
So what they've got is they've kind of tidied up some of the areas that they were deficient in. Still question marks about the defense at times. It kind of varies between okay and a little bit better than okay. I don't think it's great, but it doesn't have to be great if you've got a good offense.
mm,
You know, so that's where they've gone. Sorry, you know, Surrey need a team. They need a full team. They're playing 2 imports down. They can't, you know, they're playing without Hunt and without Gooden. And then Lawrence gets thrown out. They haven't got enough.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, that's a problem. But, you know, the quest for Surrey is, are they going to be able to win some games on the road? Because that's what they're going to need to get into the playoffs.
Mm.
You get
Uh,
defense by London.
yeah, nothing much really in the yeah, nothing much really. Best of three. Nothing much
Yeah.
really in the second half. Jameson 20 points and 10 rebounds. Cooper 16 points. Wang 15 points and 12 rebounds. Robinson 15 points. Allen 20.6 rebounds. Mackenzie 15 points. Holmes 14 points. They were 50 points in the paint and 14 of 27 from
Yeah, well, they got what
three.
they wanted. They got what they wanted, and you know, yeah, it wasn't close. It
Mm,
wasn't close.
no.
Even when
And
it wasn't close.
yeah, speaking of games that weren't close, let's go to Manchester Giants 93, Cheshire Phoenix 103. All the missing were still missing. Stevens scored 11 of the first 13 points for Cheshire as they got out to a 13-16. Basically torched them in the first quarter. They had 31 points in the first quarter. It's just whatever they wanted, basically.
But at some point in the time, some team is going to get the memo that you got to stop. You got to get out to Cheshire shooting threes in the
Mm,
first quarter as opposed to the third quarter.
mm,
Manchester are not that team.
no.
The right memos. I mean, they're into their perimeter defense. You know, Cheshire weren't creating great shots. If I can put it that way, they just weren't being
Mm,
guarded.
mm,
You know, times where Stevens was shooting the basketball, from the triple threat position after he had the time to load it up. It wasn't coming off a catch rotation or anything like that. It wasn't like they were scrambling out. He was just there. And credit to them. And Cheshire have this thing of these long rangey guards: Stevens, Jack, Kristen, Holden, 4 of them basically, all of whom are capable of making shots or making plays off the dribble. And that gives them, a fantastic kind of base to play around. But you've got to try to systematically take them out of one of their things and then take them out of the next thing. You got to take them out of is those catch and shoot threes. That means you have to be committed to defending the 3-point line, making them put it on the ground, and shoot a contested 2 or getting to the rim and finishing over you, because 2s it's harder and 2s are worth more than 3s, and they've shown they can shoot the crap out of the ball. And Manchester did absolutely none of that. Whereas Cheshire, they have the opposite of London. They're energized by when you win the trophy, you're energized, flying. Yeah. The guys, suddenly you've had success. A lot of these guys won't have had success in their careers. They won't have won anything, because the American system where they come from is not designed to have people win things. Trying to create money, So conference game, the only thing you're going to win might be a playoff at the end of the season, a championship game at the end of the season in college. And there's lots of players, there's not that many championships games like that going around. And then you go back to high school, so maybe you're your best player in high school, maybe you won some high school, but you don't have cup finals in high school either. So the invigoration that they've got from winning that final, carry them through. I mean, when you win a final, it was always a massive thing. The cup final for us, obviously, because it was January. That first game, because you knew that would buy you another month with the team if you won that. You won that. It's different.
Suddenly the dog days of February don't seem so bad.
That you're flying, because you're flying, and it's not like the playoff final. The playoff final is different because whatever happens, you're all going home. So after 20 minutes after the playoff final, it's done. Right? It's absolutely finished. You sit in the bar, pint with the other coach or whatever. All the players are going to the airport. Whether you've won, you've lost, the sense of emotion is transitory. There, you're immediately thinking about who do I want for next year, what's going on. Mid-season tournaments, a whole different dynamic. You can lose a team. If you lose it, I mean, this is why London did really well to bounce back, but they have the talent to do so. But if, say, Cheshire lose that game, a couple of guys don't get the minutes that they want, something like that, then that's a problem. You've got to have them back in on Monday. You've got to be building them back up again. So winning that, particularly in the manner that they did, the nature of the win, one of the greatest upset wins in history of the league, proving themselves, nobody believes in us, the whole of that thing, that's going to absolutely, it's like injecting adrenaline into your system. Your coach don't need to do anything for a couple of weeks because all those guys are ready to kind of to do it. And Manchester didn't react to that at all. And this game was kind of...
Kristen had all the points in a 10-2 run to 24-46, and that was it. Giants scored the last 8 points of the game to make it look like it was close. It was one of them where after the game, I looked at the stats and I went, wait, was that a 10-point game? It couldn't have been a 10-point game. And I'd been sitting there watching it and I was like, no, they were up 20. What happened? I couldn't work out how it was 10. But it was, and it wasn't as well. Lewis, 27.7 assists, Walsh 20, Stampley 17 points and 9 rebounds. Kristen had 16 first half points, 22 in total. Jack 19, Stevens 18. They were 16 of 39 from 3. They had 21 offensive rebounds and 21 second chance points. They had 18 points off turnovers, and they beat them 47-30 on the rebounds.
That's the anatomy of a Cheshire win, isn't it?
Yeah.
Take 3 with offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid you have to take them off the 3-point. The first thing is you can't stop the offensive rebounds. You can try, but you can, because you know where the ball's going to bounce. You do your best you can. But schematically, you can take them off the 3-point line. It's hard because they move the ball well and they've got penetrators in Rye and Rideau, who are, and even Holden, who are very good at swinging that ball at the far side. But you have to be absolutely disciplined on them in saying that you're going to have to beat us for 2s. And Manchester weren't. Because it's easier to get, the crazy thing is, it's actually easier to get those offensive rebounds off the 3s.
Yeah.
When you're shooting the 3, but 3s are going up, people know they're going up, and you've got big, rangy athletes who are able to crash from the wing, right? If it's a 2-point shot, Well, all those big rangy athletes are stood on the wing waiting for the ball to shoot the three.
Mm.
You know, and the penetration is such that they're not filling the lane to take away the spacing. So it's far easier to rebound off 2-point shots as well. And you know, ultimately, this time of year, talent wins out if you haven't got a scouting report. Manchester didn't have a scouting report.
No. Let's go to Sunday. Caledonia Gladiators 78, Bristol Flyers 72. Smith is now out injured for the Flyers. DeBose was missing for Caledonia as well. They couldn't score early on, Gladiators. 4 minutes in, they were 11-2 down.
Yeah, I absolutely hate that standing up thing.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Oh, I just don't get it. It's like all you're doing is creating awkwardness for your team. I'm not talking about from the fans' perspective. Fine, they want to stand up until their team scores a basket. Fine, but what good comes out of that?
Mm.
You know, I mean, we score a basket. You know, then in football, if you score a goal, you stand up, you jump up. Yeah. No, and they score a basket and they're sitting down. So, okay, well, the show's started now. Let's see what happens before the intermission. You know, it's like what? You know, and then the worst case is obviously you don't score for about 3 minutes. Kind of on the floor, what's looking around, what's going on here? Quite need the toilet, you know, what's going on? I just don't get it. I mean, I don't think I've seen it anywhere. I don't maybe some teams in college do it. I don't know in America.
Worthing Bears used to do it back in the day in the bear cage. They used to
bear
stand
cage, is that
up.
what they call it? Well, I suppose it must have been a bare necessity. I just, you know, there must have been a reason for it, but I just don't see it other than the fact that this is what we do. But why? Because this is what we do. But why? Why is it? It doesn't work anyway. But anyway, it's up to them. You know, they play all the jock songs as well. You know, you take the high road, etc. So it's everybody's entitled to their own. But I just don't think I don't like it. But anyway, that's from the basketball side of it. From a coach's side of it, you know, there's nothing better than, you know, I mean, you know, keeping them standing up for 7 minutes while you go 15-0 run. Yes, you know, whatever. You know, you paid for the seats, you use them. So anyway, yeah, that was it. I like that conversation. Yeah, and they did struggle. Bristol started off athletic, you know. Bristol has so many moving pieces now. Smith's gone as well, and I think they're gonna. I think actually both Bristol and Newcastle have being the teams other than London that are actually involved in kind of a competitive European scenario. I don't think the games themselves have taken it out of them, but I think the fact that they've got a chance of winning, competition made a big difference to their kind of the importance of the games. If that makes it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
they will have gone in saying, "Well, let's see where we are," and now they're going, "Actually, we could beat all of these teams, can't we?"
Yeah, we can beat these teams. We can get to the quarter. You know, we're in the quarter. If we get the quarterfinals, we can get the final four. You know, whatever. So, and on top of that, you have to remember from the player's perspective, massive shop window.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive, because they're playing teams in leagues like Romania and Lithuania and Belgium, who pay more than us. You know, this is a career opportunity. You know, if Devin Ollison or Jordan Johnson's going for, you know, 25-7, someone's going to notice, because all these talent evaluators and all those 47 professional leagues, they understand the level of the teams that they're playing against.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas they don't understand necessarily the level of the British Basketball League, because they've never had anything to compare it against. So I think that is it's kind of impacted both of those teams to a certain degree. They get benefits from it as well. They get the togetherness and all that stuff, so it's not all one way. But the injuries have hurt Bristol. I think they're going to hurt. I think Bell is going to really, losing Raul Graham Bell is going to be the biggest thing for them down the line. They're going to have to get starting quality play from Bradley. Bradley's always been kind of a guy who can score the ball when he's at Bristol and Cheshire, a bit inconsistent. He's going to be a really big factor for them, because without him, they're in kind of those kind of hybrid lineups where they've got Raf Thomas Edwards at the 4, you know, and then the 3 of the wings, and they're better off with Raf at the 3, because that's how he can use his, because he's not really a stretch 4 as much as Raul Graham is, but what he is, he's a fantastic rebounder from the wing and a wing defender. And they're going to need to get production from Bradley. But Green scored the ball efficiently early. Caledonia kind of played their normal, fairly systematic basketball, couldn't get anything to drop, and then basically wore them down over the course of the game.
Yeah, so they got 8 in a row late in the first quarter to cut it to 4, and then they kind of hung around about 4-6 for the rest of the half, and then the Gladiators last 6 points of the first half, first 8 points of the second half. Ali Hodgic with 9 of them. They went from 34-35 down to 48-35 ahead. And to be honest with you, they looked like they were going to ease home anyway from there.
Yeah, when they get, I mean, they're a very tough team, Caledonia, when Faro scores. If Faro scores the ball, the reason they're tough is because it means the opposition's picking the ball out of their bottom basket. They're not running on them at all. They're getting everything within their system, and they're able to set the defense, and then as he scores, loosens things up on the outside as well, and then you're going to get guys like Polizer and Whelan who got the basketball. Bristol, I'm not sure. I still not. I saw a little bit of fatigue, mental fatigue in them. Going over screens on Bothwell. I'm not getting that at the moment. Let's see if he can make some shots. Not having Dubose meant that Whelan was playing a lot of minutes. Jimenez never came off the bench either. So you thought that the Caledonia were vulnerable to Bristol's type of game, but Bristol didn't really press or trap much. I don't know if that again is a little bit of fatigue, but Bristol's advantage in that game was kind of perimeter athleticism, and they never really utilized it. And on top of that, they didn't knock down any shots. Which is unfortunately what they've been like on the road.
5 to play. It looked over, but a 13-2 run made it 73-70 with 1:23 to go. A minute to go. Onwas with the drive, and he sort of tossed it in. 75-70. Lucas then missed a 3. Onwas on the breakaway. He was fouled. 38 seconds to go. 76-70. And then they come the other way. Jacob drives, goes up and down for a travel with 23 seconds to go, and you think, well, this one is definitely finished now. If it wasn't already finished. But a sideline ball. Flyers are obviously pressuring them. The ball ends up with Poliza, who turns it over roughly about his own free throw line. Johnson then runs it back. Onwas chasing him, fouls him. And 15.5 seconds to go. It's 76-72, and they've got a free throw to make it a one-shot game.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about with the pressure. They didn't have that pressure on the whole game. And that I thought was a missed opportunity for Bristol. Because when they end up with police dribbling the basketball over the court, over half court, or someone like that, then that does give you an opportunity to take them out of their comfort zone. I'm not even sure Bothwell's a true point guard. I think he's probably a combo, but he's played pretty well at the point. He's a creative guard, and Whelan certainly isn't. And they're not really playing anybody else when DeBose isn't there. So they did. Got the steal. Johnson made the play. But not enough.
He missed the free throw. Timeout advanced. It was into Poliza, who trying to run some clock, passed it back towards Onwas, but then Johnson knocked it away. He goes out of bounds, jumps back in bounds, but is adjudged not to have reestablished himself in court before touching the ball. So it's given as a
I didn't watch that one back. It looked quite close.
To be honest with you, I just watched it just before we came on, and there's somebody sort of standing up in the way. I thought he was in. I thought he was back in.
That was my initial one. They're always bang bang calls then. Because it looks because when everybody comes to rest, he's standing there with the basketball in his hands 4 feet inside the court, so it looks like it. But he did make an effort to do that. I was wondering if he actually touched it prior to that when he was on the line, or maybe something like that.
That's a possibility as well, of course.
But anyway,
and that was basically it. I mean, even if he got the ball, they're still down 4 with 10 seconds to go and a running clock, so there's no guarantee of anything. But that was basically the game over. Ali Hodgic, 16 points, 7 of 10. Whelan, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Poliza, 14 points. Ollison, 18. Johnson, 16. Green, 12 and 16 rebounds. London Lions 105, Plymouth City Patriots 84. No Dusha Faulkner was starting. I've not seen all of this. It's basically trading scores for the first half. There were a couple of 4 or 5 point leads for London, but not really much in it. And then they had a 15-4 run just before halftime to get up 10. And then even though Plymouth closed it in the third quarter a little bit, they pulled away London.
Yeah, I watched this. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Did you see Grantham got ejected? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
You want to go back and watch it because he gets a second technical in the third quarter, 7:18 on the clock, and it was a weird one because Plymouth had turned the ball over. I think there was a travel or something, so they were walking the other way, and you just see them in shot, and he's walking at the same pace with the referee. So he must have said something, but it looked like it came out of nowhere. And actually, the first one was a bit odd as well because the first one, which was I think it was in the first quarter, about 3 minutes to go. Again, he was walking back, moaning about something. Now, he was a bit more demonstrative. I think there was a bit of a waving or whatever. That one looked more likely to be called a tee, but it just, nothing was going on. There didn't seem to be a need for it.
Yeah, I mean, there was something, he had his little video on Twitter after the Friday night game about, yeah, we hear everything that people are saying, blah, blah, and about us and all this stuff. To which I'm thinking, well, just stop your complaining. You look at the game you should have won. You don't come afterwards and say, oh yeah, we got it all taken. We're aware of it. Yeah, we're gonna keep it in our minds. No, do that before the final. And so I think they've been rattled a little bit by what happened on Sunday. With Bozic on Wednesday, and now you tell me Grantham got thrown out on Sunday as well. Yeah, it's that kind of damn again, is that talent protects, they're like a gold plated dam, or steel plated dam or whatever, it's going to take a hell of a lot for the crack to develop into a fissure to bring it all down because of the talent that they've got. But it's not to say it's not possible. We've seen it happen. I mean, I remember probably the Tony G's Mersey Tigers with Everton Tigers with Andre Smith. Before I was even involved with the Eagles, but the Eagles beat them and had far less resources, far less, probably, I'm not saying, I'm not killing if I said less talent, but they beat them, and they it can be done. Cheshire have shown now it can be done. And that kind of losing that infallibility is not a physical thing, but it's a mental thing for the players, for the team, to know it's there in your background. And some players go one way, some players go the other way. But what it does tend to do is it builds up irritability, and irritability builds up technicals, and technicals build up disqualification. So it's another kind of brick in that wall, a brick out of that dam,
Well, as I say, watch the second one back. The
first
one is
watching it.
The first one is you can just about see why it was called, but watch the second one back. That was a bit of a random one, I thought. It went from 59-58 to 77-62 with the Morgans and Taylor hitting threes, and that was it. Matt Morgan 19, 7 of 10 shooting, Nwaba 8 of 12 shooting, 17. Olasheni, I've got 19 down. I don't know why he would have 19 and be third written down, but might be right. Faulkner 23, Atwood 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and Green 14 points. So the final game, Cheshire Phoenix 96, Newcastle Eagles 85. Cheshire have never lost their first home game after winning the trophy, and they are 7 of 8 after major finals. 7 of 8? Yeah, 7 of 8. 7 and 1, whichever way around you want. Rideau with 8 in an 11-0 run out to a 13-2 lead on the way to a 23-6 lead. I actually thought Newcastle did well to hang about at that point because Cheshire were right on it.
You're kind to them. They started off abysmally. Sorry, just on that, one of my best memories actually as a fan before I was involved even as a coach. So this is probably going back to Northgate, maybe 2003, 2004, something like that, when Cheshire had, the Eagles played, we went down and watched. I think the week after they'd won the trophy, and they came out at I think it may have been James out at the beginning of maybe the end of the first quarter, maybe the beginning of the game. They came out with the trophy and literally paraded it. They could have put on paraded it around the court. I mean, it's like they put it on a horse-drawn carriage and had Charles and Camilla sat in there, and the whole crowd's going up, and they're a very parochial bunch at Chester. That's great fun. Used to love going there. Still used to love Ellesmere Port as well. Very friendly place, and but really into it, and and just kind of what we are. And so we went, I think by chance we were down there a couple of weeks later. So the Uta, and I may have played a part in this, decided that we'd take our own vase down there. And at the end of it, at the end, and this is true, this is absolutely true. And at the end of the first quarter, we sent, I don't think it was, I can't remember who did it. It might have been Nielsen, it might have been me, I can't remember. One of us kind of stepped onto the just around the front of the bench. This is what you could do in the old style BVL. The security would have had us now in front of the fans and started waving this vase around, and the 20 or so fans went absolutely crackers. We went nuts. Hey, whatever, no. And some and the Cheshire guys took it great. Just, it was one of the old days. Sorry, that's just brought that memory back to me, actually.
The trophy used, for those who don't know, the trophy used to look like a vase. It was it was a piece of glass.
Yeah, so it was, and we just brought we took our own, I don't know how we got it into the North Gate. God knows, I can't remember the details.
I walked through the front door, I would imagine. Probably, it wasn't hard.
You enjoy going to the North Gate when you got that. You couldn't get in the court until it's 5:30, right? And you get there, you couldn't get the court until 4:30. But we'd always, because you want to leave a bit of time, so we'd end up getting there like 3:30, something like that. And it was generally a very cool building because you play in but not. But what I think the third time I was there, I worked out that you could go in the public gallery for the swimming pool, which was kind of air conditioned to about 80 degrees. So then sit there for an hour watching people swim. Probably people think that was an absolute nut. Just to stay warm. Anyway, no, this game Newcastle weren't ready for what was always going to be an emotional Cheshire start. And the part of one of my criticisms of Newcastle this year is that they haven't had the appropriate fear in relation to certain games and understanding what was going to happen. And Cheshire did exactly what they were meant to do. Rideau, really great. And but the first possession of this game, McGill didn't know what time was on the shot clock. They had a shot clock violation the first on an inbounds whereby there was 8 seconds left. He didn't know, right? Then I think the second possession, Rideau's all over him and he turns it over on the steal. And it was just, they were not meant, no way. The only guys from Newcastle who were mentally ready for that game were Defoe, Austin,
Ward Hibbert,
the starters, and say again?
Ward Hibbert, I said. But
and Ward Hibbert and Delpech from the bench.
Yeah.
But the two starters, I mean, Austin, because he was playing at Cheshire, Darius, because he's seen it all before, because he knew. Right? And Darius had the first 2 baskets, Larry had a couple of layups. But the rest of them, they weren't ready. And Cheshire overpowered them with their physicality and their energy and did exactly what, to be fair, what they did to Manchester. The difference was Newcastle knew what was coming. Newcastle should have known what was coming. Newcastle are a higher talent level than Manchester. Newcastle should have been ready. Newcastle dug themselves a 17-point hole. And you can't do that with Cheshire. Rideau is the story of the season at the moment. Of all the teams outside of London, it's Rideau is the story of the season because he is the one who's kind of shown the not just the game but the personality to kind of lift his team. And there's a reason he played lots of minutes in this game. And I get Rye's really good. Obviously, Rye is really good, no question. And Rye is the kind of the stabilizing force on the team. But Rideau is the leader of the team because he's in everything. And he creates contact, and which means he's playing physical all the time. He's looking for steals. He's always in your face, but he has this kind of controlled nature about him as well.
Yeah,
which means that he's really comfortable, and that's rare in a rookie guard in this league. I know he's not a rookie guard professionally, but that's rare. So he was the protagonist. He was the catalyst for this. He started it and he got his dunk in transition.
Yeah.
And then they knocked down some threes. But Newcastle, I'm afraid, in the first quarter, we've seen. I think it's the third time this year they played Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and the Sunday games they haven't played well. And probably that's when your big few men down impacts you. But at the end of the day, they are a guard-oriented team, and if their guards aren't going to be ready to play at the beginning of the game, they're going to struggle.
Ward Hibbert with some threes, they slowly worked their way into the game in the second quarter. Newcastle.
Oh, I mean, they won the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won the rest of the game, and they were up. And they, I mean, they did a few. They did. I mean, they were guarding. I was surprised. They were guarding Rye by sending him to his left, which really surprised me because that's where he wants to go. And I think the plan must have been to kind of keep him going to his left and then have the help there and see if he could finish over and don't not let him come back to his right. But for me, the scout report for Rye should be you send him right and you don't let him come, because he wants to go left. If you watch him, he wants to go left with his first dribble to spin back right. That's the play he wants to make. And if you don't take that away, he'll do a jump stop and maybe finish at the rim with it on his left side. But he rarely extends out to his left. He's always looking to spin back. And I thought the scouting on him was, they didn't seem connected on that at all. There's times Ward Hibbert was sending him left and there was nobody there, giving him a straight line drive. But Rye was excellent. I don't think Newcastle were anywhere near disruptive enough defensively to beat Cheshire at this point. I think you have, and Cheshire have Cheshire was spiral watching 113 in Newcastle in there, and they've managed to pull themselves together and turn it around and maximize what they do with their sorry, I don't use that word, not with their energy, with their athleticism and getting what they need out of everybody. They've actually weirdly kind of been helped a little bit by by Chargewa going down, because it's put yet another wrinkle into how you guard them. Because it means White is playing the 5 almost universally, and it means that they've always got these 4 pure weight. They've got all these wings are playing a bit more. So whether it's Stevens, Holden, Rye, Stevens, Holden, Rye's going to play anyway, but Stevens, Holden, Kristen, and Jack. In the past, when you had Chargewa and White on the court, you're struggling a bit to get all those guys in the game enough. Now play more because you got 30 minutes of Chargewa to deal with, and you lose a little bit of rebounding, but those athletic guys can run all day, and they're actually harder to guard as a result. But I mean, they won this game, I thought, because Newcastle couldn't string together 2 or 3 defensive players. You guys covered it on commentary. They weren't perfect, but they had more force of personality in their game than the Eagles did, and and a little bit more commitment to being who they are than the Eagles did. And on top of that, McGill and Johnson, certainly McGill didn't make any shots, and you got to make shots against Cheshire. But it's an unbelievable month for Cheshire.
Yeah. So just to run it through, they got it down to 3 the first score of the third quarter. Stevens with 5 in an 8-2 response back to 10, and that's how it sort of patterned out. Eagles got it to 4 just before the end of the quarter, and then 8 in a row around the break, had it to 77-65, and Eagles couldn't really make another run after that.
No, I mean, and they're giving up too many. Yeah, they did enough to stay close, and they made enough plays, and and that Ward Hibbert is a massive benefit for Newcastle, certainly. Because he was connected to the game the whole time, and you could see him talking to the guys and trying to connect them to the game. But I think the reality is that their defense at times is what is letting them down to a certain degree. And to be fair, Cheshire are a very, very hard team to guard, and to go to Cheshire and win the Sunday after they've won the cup. We had a nice little warm up against Manchester the night before, and it was a nice little warm up the night before. Would be a tough ask, but there's not. But you can take if Newcastle, Sheffield, Leicester, and Bristol want to get up to Caledonia and Cheshire, they're the games they have to try and win.
Yeah.
Whether they're that bothered about getting up to Caledonia and Cheshire is another thing, given the structure of the season and what's on it. But they're the separating points at the moment. So you've got 2 teams that are 14 and 8, and then a bunch of teams that are 500.
And you could tell.
Sorry, of course.
You're ahead of the game. Rye, 28 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. Rideau, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. Kristen, 14 and 6. Austin, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Ward Hibbert, 5 of 11 for 3 for 19 points. McGill, 16 points and 7 rebounds. And so that Dave doesn't steal all of my thunder, here's the league table. London, 24 and 3, just the 10 wins ahead of second place. Caledonia and Cheshire are both at 14 and 8. Leicester, Newcastle, Sheffield are all 11 and 11. Bristol are one game below 500 at 11 and 12. Then a bit of a gap to Surrey in eighth spot, who are 8 and 15, and Manchester are 7 and 18, and Plymouth 4 and 18.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have to say, this is the final part of the Emperor's New Clothes thing. Pretty unenthused about the next 2 months, to be honest. I know that I don't imagine the league's that bothered about it either, because we're already promoting the heck out of the All-Star game. It's just, I think there's going to be a lot of not mediocre is the wrong word, but a lot of very similar basketball. You know, and teams are going to try and get a rhythm to try and get them up to the end of the season playing well and all of that stuff. And, you know, health is going to come into it, of course. And some teams will be up and some teams will be down. But, you know, there's basically nothing to play for other than maybe Surrey trying to squeeze in. Maybe, you know, Sheffield, Bristol, Newcastle avoiding themselves dropping back down into that spot. It's again kind of 2 years ago, you know, how does the league manage the disparity between the Lions and everybody else while promoting both? I don't think they've done a very good job. I think the reality of it is that there is still a competitive imbalance issue, and that issue is going to play out over the next 2 months when we have to watch all the games, I'm afraid. And you have to commentate on them and you have to make them sound interesting in the battle for fifth.
Well, yeah. I don't think anybody's battling to finish fifth.
No,
maybe the battle for sixth.
The battle for sixth.
I'm not sure fifth is where people are aiming to get to.
You know,
but there you go.
So
Dave's selling next week's Sunday Night Breakdown, which will be excellent. We'll be talking about lots of
other... To be honest, I'm really looking forward to the All-Star game. I get a week off. Please tell me you've got the commentary gig on the All-Star game. I really want you just to do. I want you just to commentate in your normal, quiet, droll, unhyped way.
I've done All-Star games before.
And there's another dunk. Oh, yeah.
I did the 190, whatever it was, to 140, whatever.
100. Yeah, I sat and watched that. Jesus, never again. 181 to couldn't even. How can a team score 142 points and lose by 50? That's what happened in that game. It was like 191 to 142.
It was a victory for the nighttime economy.
It was a Newcastle. It was Globetrotters minus the laughs. That's what it was. But anyway, no, yeah, it's tough. I just hope that at some point in time there is some actual analysis going on of what is working and what is not. And at the moment, the impression is everything is reactive at the moment. And the problem is that the person who ends up kind of being the canary in the coal mine, which is me complaining about all this stuff which has never happened, is the twisty one who's whinging and who was bringing everything down. And it's meant from a good place. You know, let's not just accept that, you know, putting Manchester and Plymouth, and, you know, Plymouth had to go to Caledonia on a Thursday night as well, you know. Let's not accept that, you know, putting Manchester and Plymouth on a Thursday night in the National Basketball Performance Centre with 150 people there, one of whom appears to be spoiling for a fight, is a good idea. It's not working. So how about let's be proactive and actually look at this schedule and say, look, if it means Manchester v Plymouth isn't on television, but there's 1,200 people in the gym on a Saturday and it's going up against somebody else, do it. You know, YouTube is not going to break because Manchester v Plymouth is not being shown.
And makes it hard to do Sunday Night Breakdown, to be fair. But
well, of course it does. I get that, but these are the decisions that have to be taken. You know, it's fine plotting a course and saying this is what we're going to do. We think this is going to work, right? But when you've got incontrovertible evidence, and Thursday night was incontrovertible evidence that it is not working, then you have to be mobile enough and nimble enough to change course. You know, you can't keep sailing towards a bloody iceberg. And then to a certain degree, no one at Manchester is going to be kicking up a fuss because at the end of the day, the league's running them. But if I'm the rest of the league, the owners who are putting probably, I don't know if they're putting a few quid into Manchester to keep it running or not, I'm going to be saying, well, what's the point in this? We got 150 people in the gym for a game. And it doesn't need to be that way. So I'm afraid that whilst it's opened up it might have opened up markets and spacing elsewhere, and they've probably already sold all the slots in America for these Thursday night games. What we saw on Thursday night was a net negative as opposed to a net positive. And you're better off not having it at all than having what we had on Thursday night. And unfortunately, it was exemplified and magnified by the incident afterwards, which, as I say, they're very lucky did not go viral, because at the moment because at one point that was odds on to be the first BBL clip on SportsCenter this season, and it wouldn't have been for the right reasons. So we got to get we got to just push the content just a little bit to one side and sort out the nuts and bolts of running a safe, accessible, profitable league. There you go. My two.
There we go. He's had a double rant on that one today.
Double rant, yeah.
So what's the? I know you've got to go now, Dave. I don't know where you are. You're off for a
we got Doncic tonight.
Doncic.
Yeah.
The Mavericks.
Doncic is in town tonight.
There we go.
So I got Doncic in town tonight, then Curry in town with the Warriors on Wednesday, and I'm on a flight home on Thursday night, back for Friday morning. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Should be cool. The sun's shining. I might end up going for a little walk. Take my my British abroad type thing.
Nice. Your hanky on and hanky on your head and all of that sort of malarkey.
Yeah, maybe maybe
Nice.
a fedora, or kind of one of those Ben Stokes bucket hats. Who knows? But no, it's canny. Yeah, it really is.
Back in time for London Sheffield.
Back in time for London Sheffield. Oh, thank you.
And Leicester Plymouth. Oh no, that's the following night. Sorry, that's following.
I mean, what that make it? 85 consecutive games without losses against Leicester. I didn't mention it. We contractually obliged to mention Leicester's record against Surrey when they beat them.
I think it's 41. I think it's 41 now. Sorry. I think Plymouth is 40.
Sorry. And Plymouth is about the same.
44, I think Plymouth is.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Newcastle Caledonia should be quite good because they've only played each other once all season. So that actually makes it quite a game I'm quite interested in watching, because it's also a contrast of styles. But no, Leicester, Plymouth, sorry, London, Sheffield. My appetite is not overly whetted.
Oh, come on, Dave! You're killing the audience now. Right, we're going. We're going. Dave will be back. He'll be full of the joys of spring next week.
I am absolutely conscious that anybody still listening to this is a masochist, and they do not want. They have no interest in being kind of buttressed up by false bonhomie. They don't want it. They want to listen. We're right at the dog end. They're probably the longest one we've ever done. Yeah. Right, and they're only listening because they're ready to kill themselves or jump off a bridge or something.
Before anybody does that, we're going to wrap this up.
Don't do that.
We'll be back. We'll be a bonhomie free zone again next Sunday night. But thanks for listening. Goodbye.